Wine has been poured at weddings, funerals, religious ceremonies, and royal feasts for nearly 8,000 years. It has been worshipped as a gift from the gods and outlawed as a moral threat, sometimes in the very same century. And here's what almost nobody realizes. The accident that started it all wasn't a discovery at all. It was probably a mistake nobody meant to make. The earliest known winemaking dates back to around 6000 BC in the mountains of the South Caucasus, in what is now the country of Georgia. Historians believe it likely began by accident. Wild grapes stored in a clay pot, forgotten for weeks, naturally fermented by wild yeast on their own skins, and someone brave enough to taste the result anyway. Ancient Georgians buried massive clay vessels called qvevri underground, filled with crushed grapes, and let nature do the rest. A method still used in Georgia today, virtually unchanged after 8,000 years. In 2013, UNESCO recognized this ancient qvevri method as an official piece of intangible human heritage, proof that Tamar's world was never really lost, just buried and waiting. By the height of the Roman Empire, wine had become deeply tied to social class. The finest vintages were reserved for the wealthy, served at extravagant banquets, while the poor drank cheap, heavily watered wine, sometimes cut so thin it barely resembled wine at all. Drinking wine completely undiluted was actually considered barbaric in Roman high society, a habit associated with uncivilized foreigners, not refined citizens. And here's a detail few people know. Some Roman vintages were reportedly stored for over 100 years, treated less like a drink and more like a family heirloom passed down for generations. Wine became central to religious ritual, from Greek celebrations of Dionysus to its role as a sacred symbol in Christianity and Judaism. Monasteries across medieval Europe became centers of winemaking expertise, refining techniques that are still used today, meticulously recording which soils and slopes produced the finest grapes. Legend credits one such monk, Dom Pérignon, with perfecting the bubbles in champagne, supposedly exclaiming to his fellow monks, "Come quickly, I am tasting the stars." Historians now believe the quote was likely invented long after his death, but the wine and the story both stuck. But wine's history isn't only celebration. It has also been banned outright. In 1920s America, Prohibition shut down the entire legal wine industry overnight. Remarkably, one loophole kept some vineyards alive. Winemaking for religious sacramental use remained legal, and church wine sales quietly surged during those 13 dry years. European colonizers carried grapevines across the Atlantic, planting the first vineyards in the Americas. In the late 1800s, a tiny American insect called phylloxera accidentally hitched a ride to Europe and nearly destroyed every vineyard on the continent, wiping out grape varieties that had existed for centuries. European wine was ultimately saved by grafting its vines onto resistant American rootstock, meaning nearly every classic European wine today is, quite literally, growing on American roots. Over the following century, regions like California, Chile, and Australia would grow into some of the world's most celebrated wine producers. Today, wine is produced on nearly every continent, in a nearly unbroken tradition stretching back 8,000 years. It has survived empires, monks, insects, and a nationwide ban. And somehow, every single time, it found its way back into someone's glass. From a buried clay pot in the mountains of Georgia to tables around the world, one drink has carried ritual, class, and celebration through every era of human history.